Okay, yeah. So I'm doing a book that's called Two Tribes, about 1997 season. The year there were two competitions in Australia, and it's a period that most fans in Oz just sort of try to forget. In fact, if you talk to most fans in Australia, they wouldn't be able to tell you the origin story of the NRL. They just say, "Oh yeah, there were two competitions. News Limited came in, and then there's now there's the NRL. That's it. Like there's no the negotiations. People have pretty much tried to forget. At the time, 95, 96, 97, people didn't watch matches. The matches were secondary on the back to the court reports and all that sort of stuff. So basically what I tried to do is pick up where Mike Coleman's book about the Super League War finishes. A little bit different because Mike Coleman was writing in 1996, so he could actually describe the drapes and what was on the sandwiches and stuff like that, which I'm unable to do. So I've done my best to make up for that with detail and interviews. I went to see Ken Arthur on New Year's Day this year in his home on the Gold Coast. I've interviewed Jeffrey. What's his name? Jeff, the CEO of Optus. I've forgotten his name just for a second. Jeff Cousins, the CEO of Optus, who hasn't done. Neil Whittaker hasn't done a rugby league interview in about 20 years. So I sat down with him when I was back in Australia. Obviously Malcolm Reilly, or famous players, little known players, officials. Ian Robson. I went to see. Maurice Lindsay, Neil Tunnicliffe. So about 50 interviews so far. And what I've tried to do, because I looked at this thing, Substack. Substack is basically so writers can earn money without a boss, right? So you can sell direct to readers. And so I thought, well, why don't I do this as a combine this with the book? So basically, if you sign up, you get the book. It's like a pre-sale. So I'm actually, at the moment, I'm batting a post every single day. Since I started. I started on October 4, which was the 24th anniversary of the court case that allowed Super League to get underway in Australia. And I've done a post every single day since then, and I'm planning to do it until December 19, 2022, which is the 25th anniversary of the NRL being formed. I'm not going to promise to do every day, but at the moment I'm batting at one post a day. So for $45, you get all those posts, which is going back through clippings, liner notes, old graphics, videos, all sorts of stuff, audio interviews. I plan to put audio interviews up as well. You get Two Tribes when it comes out, and then you also get a copy of.
A professional look at that.
Straight away. So yeah, I know it sounds like I've been waiting the whole hour and a half just to do that spiel, and I didn't quite make it. But I'm enthusiastic about it. I'm very I'm enjoying the process. I had to be convinced to do it, but now I'm really enjoying
it. I mean, obviously what was I doing at the time? I was doing my GCSE, so I didn't have Sky, I didn't have any access to Australian Rugby League at the time. So this is a completely fresh period of history, because I was more bothered at the time about Wakefield trying to be merged with Castleford and Featherstone. That was the major drama for these three little towns in the north of England, who no one in Australia probably cares about. And you've got these big clubs being forced to merge and go up against each other, and the World Club Championship, which we all remember as a great concept, and Hunter Mariners and stuff like that. I'm fascinated to learn more about this period.
Well, the reason we had last Friday night, we had a game that was called a Super League Grand Final, and that was all because of basically the introduction of pay television in Australia. And this is from the period before my book starts, but basically Kerry Packer, who owned Channel 9 and a bunch of magazines, he bought the TV rights, the pay TV rights for the New South Wales Rugby League. He had no pay TV outlets. So he just bought them because so no one else could have them. And when pay TV started in Australia, at the time, the Brisbane Broncos and some of the newer clubs, Canberra Raiders, they didn't like the way the game was being run in Sydney. They thought it was too small time, too parochial, too old-fashioned, not enough marketing and pizzazz. And so Rupert Murdoch had a fertile soil to grow this idea of a breakaway competition, because these clubs were disaffected. And so, unfortunately, Kerry Packer, who didn't have a pay TV channel anyway, decided he wasn't going to sell them anyway, and I'll sue the asses off you if you deal with Rupert. And so on the 1st of April 1995, fittingly the date, fittingly the year, because it's 100 years to the day since rugby league started, fittingly the day, April Fools, the News Limited climbed through windows and signed players on the spot, said, you've got to sign here. And then announced in the Sunday papers they'd signed a bunch of players from underneath the noses of the ARL. And what happened after that was that Kerry Packer had more of a fight than he bargained for, but he'd given the rights to the ARL to another, just to be awkward about it. He'd given them to one of the Rupert's rival pay TV startup, and they started funding a fight back to pay the players to stay with the ARL. And the thing that people don't appreciate is that in 1995, Kerry Packer was over it. He went and visited Rupert Murdoch on a yacht in the Bay of Islands in New Zealand, and said, "Oh yeah, we'll give you some programming, some movies," and shook hands on it. But Jeffrey Cousins, whose name I couldn't remember a short time ago, Jeffrey Cousins was like, "No, I'm not gonna. I'm going to keep fighting. I don't care. You guys can do a deal. I've paid for all these players. You're wrong trying to come in and steal this competition and this game. I'm right, and I'm going to keep fighting, even if you guys want to make friends." And so, as a result, we end up with two competitions in 1997, and it's a year that rugby league fans fetishize. You just mentioned Hunter Mariners and blah blah blah. People. It's funny, you get like, and perhaps not so much in this country because it was all about merging and it was all about franchising and all that sort of stuff. But in Australia, you get people who are like, I want to buy a Hunter Mariners jersey for $250 on eBay, and how good a player was, Barry John Mather playing centres for the Perth Reds and stuff like that, and they fetishize about it. It's like. And then you get others who are still very, very militant about it. There's like, that wasn't a test match because the ARL didn't approve it. So, the Anzac test, the first ever Anzac test, is counted by New Zealand and the International Federation, but not counted by Australia because it was the Australian Super League team in it. And some people on social media still get really angry about it. Brisbane didn't win the competition. There was no competition. They weren't in. They didn't play in 1997. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to get to this sort of unravel that as well in the book, a little bit of that sort of, that sort of dichotomy, and try to basically allow people to make their peace with what happened. And, I don't want to quote Donald Trump saying they'll find people on both sides, but, I think there were. So I've interviewed quite a few of those fine people.
And Adelaide Rams still have one of the better Twitter feeds.
They do. I actually think I got a Facebook page called Dead Club Society, and it's one of those things where you don't have to put any content up there, and people like it. Every day people like it. And I would like to actually put out every year matching the NRL gear, even go through the front door of the NRL and actually put out Adelaide Rams, Hunter Mariners, Annandale. You can get Annandale jerseys. There's a big list of defunct clubs, and I know people are doing it in this country too. They're just doing it on Facebook and stuff. So there's a big fetish there and a big market for dead clubs.
I'd have a Sydney University shirt.
Sydney University, yeah. I think they're still playing.
I think it's one of the smartest business ideas of this year was Elgren being reborn and releasing some shirts of dead clubs so you don't have to pay anyone any money. I think that's brilliant.
I think some of them are licensed though.
I'm sure some are. Yeah.
Joey's son, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Joey's son. Yeah. So I did a tweet last year about I can't believe you can go and buy this and the club gets nothing and that. And he actually got back to me and said no, that one and that one is on our website. You can't buy it. That one and that one they get a percentage. And that one, the club's dead, doesn't exist anymore. We don't owe anyone any money. So full credit to Elgren. They're doing it by the book, not breaking any laws. Well done.
Yeah, because there are a few people out there who do sell what looks like poor quality merchandise of clubs that still exist. And I do find that a bit distasteful.
I've got another idea, though, in that area, because as you know, the last 3 years I've been been dabbling in merch, is that you make gear for countries that don't play the game yet, like your Pyongyang pylons. And you actually do, and you half the profit goes in trust. And when they get recognised by the International Federation, you give them the money in the trust fund. Do you like that idea?
You see, that's development.
Yeah, and I reckon it's actually a 360-degree concept, Phil. I think at the time you do social media and you do a website as well, and so when they do the work, they get recognition from the International Federation, or even before if you think they're not shysters. Some countries more likely to have them than others, I guess. But you hand them, you say, here it is, it's done. There's your website, there's your Twitter, there's your Instagram, there's your Facebook, and here's a grand that we earned selling jerseys to train spotters. I'd like to have a go at that. You know what I mean?
Well, you sort of have with Azerbaijan and various places.
Yeah, but that's not commercial, is it? I kind of did that because it was cool. My problem is I think of things I'd like to do that are cool first. and then like 10 years later, it occurs to me that maybe I'd like to maybe there's a way to earn money out of it. But my first thing is, what's a cool thing to do, you know? So I'm sure that's what this program's all about, isn't it?
Never lose that. That's how we've existed for as long as we may have existed.
There is a design for Pyongyang or the pylons of Pyongyang t-shirt shirts. There are designs. I just need to get off my backside to get someone to make it, and we can make some money.
I heard it's going to be look like Hessian. Is that right? The jersey design is like a Hessian bag.
It is without a doubt it would be the greatest rugby league shirt of all time. And having seen some of those that have been released this year, it's certainly better than some of those we'll see in Super League.
There's a guy in Sydney called Matt Haynes, and he actually designs jerseys, and he gets paid like a per hour. Like he gets paid a per hour fee to do the jersey. He doesn't take a commission or anything of sales. And so there's enough work. There's enough people having this conversation that we're having now around the world to keep Matt Haynes in kind of six packs and pies. You know what I mean? So we're not alone. We're not alone.
We're all dreamers. We're as Belinda Carlisle said, and you can buy their shirt on the
I approached Belinda Carlisle to be interviewed for the book because she played at the first round of Super League. She played at Brisbane versus Canberra in Brisbane versus the Warriors, the very first game. And then I saw her at the check-in desk at Ansett the next morning. We flew to Sydney, me in second class and her in first class. And she played she played at Penrith versus and it was muddy and wet and she fell off stage. And people perhaps unfairly said that she was a bit under the weather, if you know what I mean. So I'd like to put that claim to Belinda Carlisle so she can put the record straight. But I've been so far unable to contact her. She might be watching. And if you are watching, Belinda, I can be contacted at touchstonetalk@gmail.com.
I've got plenty of questions that my teenage self would like to ask Belinda Carlisle if she is watching.
Questions you wouldn't like to answer?
Well, it depends. I won't say them on this program because it's a family show. I'm thinking now. I think we've spoken about everything. We need to ask Steve. Is there anything else you want to mention? And how do we give you money? You're trying to make money from rugby league. How do we give you money? How's the Patreon going? Because I love reading everything, and I watch your show on a Friday.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Look, my big thing at the moment is Two Tribes. You go to twotribes.substack.com, and all you do is you just buy the subscription, and then I'll send you one of these. And then when the book comes out, hopefully you're helping fund the printing of it. So that's the big thing now. I've sort of I guess one thing I didn't mention earlier during lockdown is that you get more time to do things like we're doing now. So White Line Fever, my podcast, has been kind of infrequent over the years, but it's heading towards its 10th year next year. So I'm doing a all rugby league version called White Line Fever Kicks pretty much every week. You find on iTunes, and there's White Line Fever, which has got music in it as well, which is also on iTunes. And the boys will be very angry at me, John and Ross, if I don't mention patreon.com/rugby league long reads. Even the title is a long read. It is what it says on the tin. And that's been great. But I've got to say, the response we've had to that, when we started that, people said there just isn't a market for it. And now, I don't think it's unfair to say we've been copied. by at least 2 organisations I can think of. And it's good. It keeps us on our toes. We've got some great plans for like maybe being organised. That's our grand plan. We're unveiling a grand strategy, organised.
The USP goes if you start organising yourself.
So we're so we're pretty much every day now posting on there, and we've got a weekly live stream, and we're going to have like this thing called, there's a column I do called Discord. So this is confusing, but there is also an app on the internet called Discord.
There is.
Well, yes, where you can go in and discuss what we're discussing, and things like your YouTube channel. I'm trying to amp that up as well. So it's YouTube.com/WLF White Line Fever TV. But I also know from looking at all those videos how do you get a lot of viewers and subscribers. You do a video about how you can get a lot of viewers and subscribers. So I've been watching all those, and they say don't blind people with too many links and plugs. So I'm not going to say any more. That's it.